wow, it's insanely windy. All of a sudden, I've just finally gotten set up somewhere that I think is probably suitable. I got a new tripod, which is called the Mantis Pod, and I've just set it up on a tree. Then it became extremely windy all of a sudden, so I've been stood here watching it, hoping for the best, trying not to expect the worst. But cool, let's go somewhere a bit more adventurous. We have a gorgeous view here. I'm going to capture some shots of the surrounding area and bits and bobs, just that I can splice that into the video afterwards. Now, what are we talking about? Thought came to me recently, just to do with the idea of awareness and compounding actions and compounding thoughts and behaviors, and how, you know, it's like compounding interest. The more you do a certain thing, the results are actually exponential as opposed to linear. Like, you do a good thing, a good choice, and then you go this way. We usually, most of the time, we know what we want to do. We know the decision we actually want to make. What I mean by the decision we actually want to make is we act unconsciously so often. And the thing is, when we do that, we become unconscious, right? We choose not to be aware of the situations that we get ourselves into and the actions that we take in life. And the more we do that, the more unconscious we become. So in a sense, you lose your edge over life. And your edge over life being that you're in control, right? You can choose the thoughts you listen to and the behaviors you indulge in and all of these types of things. And we forget that when we decide to choose something that doesn't align with what we really want. But the point I'm making is that when I talk about the edge we have over life, it's that concept that you're playing the game, right? So you have your awareness within you and you're aware of who you are. I'm Robbie. I'm aware that I think I'm Robbie, right? So I have the ego and everything else, and your awareness is observing it all. And when you become unaware and you act unconsciously, you forget that separation, right? So you think you are your thoughts, you actually believe you're Robbie. You've forgotten that you're part of the universe, you're part of everything, and you think you're separate and you're this individual being experiencing the world, right? So an example, a simple example and quite an easy one to use is maybe you're going out with friends and you've thought to yourself you really don't want to drink because you know it's bad for you, you know you're going to be tired all week long, and you know you've kind of decided to yourself you don't want to, and you get there and then your friends are going, go on mate, oh we'll have a good night, we'll have a lovely time. You give into it and you just go, oh whatever, yeah I will. And then you're tired and you feel crap all week. So what you've done there is you've ignored your conscious decision. So the awareness in you didn't want to drink. And why is that? Because it's aware that it wants the best for you. That's the version of you that wants you to have the most fulfilled life, right? So you go and achieve your goals, you overcome the hardest obstacles, and you become you become the version of you that you envision as the greatest version of yourself every time you choose those decisions. And I'm not saying that means never drink alcohol. It's when you have that voice and that feeling and you know it's not meant for you anymore. You know, a certain behavior that you usually do or you used to do isn't aligned with what you want from your life. And that can even be going to bed early. When we ignore that awareness within us and we choose the unconscious decision, you start making more and more unconscious decisions. And it's this kind of spiral, right? This thought process that we get trapped in, where you're not making decisions for yourself and you kind of feel out of control. You're back on the roller coaster, just going through the motions, right? You've not sat back and gone, which ride do I want to go on at the theme park of life? You're just on one of them and you're going and going and going because you're unconscious, and then boom, usually something happens that's quite drastic. And again, it snaps us back into being aware. And I mean, I know this is huge for kind of addictive behaviors. So for example, I've had experience with nicotine and having the awareness the entire time, you know, telling yourself that you're going to quit. And you're like, I'm not going to smoke or vape forever, right? And that's the awareness that you have. So then why are you doing it now, right? You're living unconsciously because it's the pleasurable choice now in the moment. And if you're aware you're going to quit in the future, why would you not quit now and get yourself closer to where you actually want to be, right? That version of yourself that you actually want to be. And again, you might not want to quit smoking or vaping. That's completely fine. I'm talking specifically at you when you feel that voice and you know that you're ignoring it, okay? And you know you're ignoring your truth in a way. It is easier. In the moment, it's easier to give in, and then it becomes more and more painful long term, okay? And then it's harder to realign yourself. Of course, it's doable. That's the whole point of this video, actually. You can make that decision and switch yourself back onto the right track for yourself. But the reason nicotine is such a good example, it's such an extended unconscious behavior for so many people where they know consciously, they don't want to be doing it, but they consistently do it. So then you're consistently reinforcing living a life where you're making unconscious choices. So then it's naive to think that isn't going to affect every aspect of your life. You're going to start making unconscious choices, not just when you smoke. You're going to be making unconscious choices with other aspects. You might stay in the relationship that just isn't right for you, but you've just kind of become used to it. And your inner voice is saying, I'm not really happy here, but it will just do for now. And you're not making a change. I don't mean breaking up. I mean, maybe you just haven't said how you actually feel. And that's because you're ignoring. How are you going to say to someone else how you actually feel if you're not listening to yourself, right? You're not listening to your own voice of how you feel about your life and the decisions you make. You're ignoring it. But where your power lies is in being aware in every moment, okay? In as many moments as possible. And this is, again, it's a practice. It's the same as any skill or habit. The more and more you do it, the more compounded that will become and the easier it becomes to do. And you're going to be less attached to the version of yourself that you think you are. And you're going to act from a place of knowing, right? So you're going to be more confident, but it's not an illusion. You're not pretending to be more confident. That's just who you are. And it's a confidence in all aspects of your life, okay? It's not, I don't just mean being in public and talking to other people. It's a confidence in what you do and waking up and feeling that every day in the actions you take and what you know you're going to do for the day and these kind of things. So where are we going with this conversation? Well, we're going back to the start because that's where I don't know. You're aware, okay? I assume, no one knows that everyone has awareness to some degree. Awareness of their own actions and behaviors. If we imagine a line, the more decisions you make that don't align with who you truly are, who you want to be, right? And they're usually the feelings that you're burying down, okay? And you know they're going to impact you positively. This is what's ironic, right? We know they're actually the best decisions and we still put them off. Okay, it's just ironic, it's just weird, but once we're aware of it, awareness is where your power is because you can change it. So, do you not want to change it for the better, for your own experience, improve how you perceive the world, okay? When you're going down the route of making unconscious decisions, you're moving down this way, okay? And then you can get to the point where suddenly, boom, you've woken up 15 years later, and you're like, how the hell have I gotten here? And this is common. This isn't even unusual. There's literally a thing called a midlife crisis, right? And this is what's happening, except it doesn't happen just in your midlife. It can happen at any age. It can happen repeatedly throughout your life. And it's when you've just acted unconsciously over and over again, and you're like, how have I gotten here? Right? You freak out. You're not aware. You're not thinking about your life and reality. Okay? If you've suddenly hit 50 and you think, why am I in this job? Why have I done the things I've done? Oh my God, where have the past 20 years gone? The reason you're thinking that is because you haven't been aware of the past 20 years. You've just been making decisions that don't align with you. Because otherwise, you're going to be however old you are, and you're going to look back and you're going to go, yeah, I've lived my life. I've made decisions where I felt they were the right decision to make, and I've listened to myself, and I've gone with it, right? I've done the best I can from these situations. You know, and I'm not saying that to scare people. I don't want you to act out of fear, but these things motivate me, okay? They motivate me to live a life that's full and aware. And if you listen to people's experiences who have lived their lives, so many people say that. They look back and they wish they worked less, right? You can look up the top 5 things that people say on their deathbeds, and they wish they worked less. You know, they wish they just did things. It's that general idea. And so the only way you're going to end up in that situation where you don't know what's happened and you're so deep in it and you just can't figure out what's gone on. Who's been at the steering wheel? Right? Who has been living your life? You've been living your life. Okay? You have been living your life. You've just relinquished the power, the main thing you have in this world. And that's not to say the years of your life that have gone by have been worthless or whatever. No, it's you've learned from every experience you've had, good or bad, you've learned something. And you've had full moments in that time, but you've just, on the whole, acted unconsciously. And this goes hand in hand with the most empowering thing you can do is view the world believing you're in control, right? You're in control of the situation you're in. And if you don't believe that right now, that's fine. That's what you believe. My point is, I've changed my belief, right? So I also believed that at one point. I believed I could not do anything. I just completely lacked self-belief. The things I did because I thought it was what I was meant to do. So I based them on external factors, okay? I wasn't basing it on what I wanted to do myself. What that does is it makes you feel like life is just passing you by. You feel like you're a passenger just watching life, but actually you're not. You're in the game. You're playing the game. You're in the driver's seat. That's what I always say. But it's true. But we forget it. I've forgotten it at times. We forget it for a different amount of times. Some people, I don't know if they've ever even realized it, which is terrifying. Some people not realized that. And I wonder, again, a lot of that comes from the fear, right? So a lot of these changes that you know are for the best scare you. So it's not as simple as when I gave you the example of, you didn't want to drink that night and you went out with your friends and then they say, come on, mate, drink with us. And you go, oh, fine, I will. And you really didn't want to deep down. You're thinking, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to do these things. And you made that unconscious decision again. Why is that so hard to do? Why is it so hard to stick to that? And it's the fear. Change, the unknown, instinctively scares us as human beings, right? And change is something that's unknown. I mean, really, every single day is unknown, but we kind of trick ourselves when we're in a state of comfort where we think we know what's going on. Really, we don't, ever. Every day, your whole life could be flipped upside down tomorrow. And that's usually what then triggers the awareness of these things, right? And the awareness of the decisions you're making and that you want to make going forward. But the reason it's not as simple of a decision as it seems is because of the fear, right? There's more to it than you're stopping drinking. And that's because there's dominoes. If you're changing something that feels like it's part of your behavior and you feel like it's who you are, there's more to that. You've got more pillars that make you feel like you're someone, okay? And that doesn't align necessarily with who you want to be. So those pillars are going to have to come crumbling down and you're going to have to rebuild them. You're going to have to rebuild who you are, and that person that you rebuild is who you really want to be. It's who you know you actually are inside. The person who achieves your dreams is you. That's why they're your dreams, okay? That person is you. And when you rebuild these pillars, it's going to be the most fulfilling thing. It's going to be challenging. Again, it needs to be challenging or there's no point, there's no payoff. If you could click your fingers and have your dreams, what's the point? There's no point in that. But with the example with the drinking with your friends, is one of those pillars might be those people you hang around with. It's a group of people you feel comfortable with and a safety network. And you feel like drinking is part of who you are when you're with them, right? So then if you can't drink anymore because you've changed that and you start hanging out with them, you've got a fear of maybe you won't enjoy it. Then you're going to be like, who are my friends? Oh, I haven't got friends that don't drink, but I want to be someone who starts going and running around the hills. I want to be someone who starts a business, but I don't have friends that do that. So there's all of these fears that kind of block you, right, behind this barrier. But when the barrier crumbles, you're just going to burst through, okay? Pop through the barrier, off you go, achieve your goals and your dreams. Wow, this has been a great chat. It's just ignoring that voice. We can almost summarize it. We can summarize this. That voice that tells you what you really want to do inside that you ignore. That's the version of you that when you align with it, you're not going to feel that way anymore because you act. Everything you do is an action leading you on that path, okay? On the path that aligns you with who you actually are, with how you actually feel about things. That goes hand in hand with speaking your truth to people, saying what you actually think and feel, acting in the moment in a way that's true to you. Whereas when you're consistently ignoring that, there's so many different things that it could be. You're just consistently ignoring your behaviors and acting in a different way, you fall further and further into the illusion that you're something else. You lose the awareness, you lose your edge on life, okay? And without that edge, you're not going to connect with people on a level that matters. But the reason I say on a level that matters is because you're just having a social dance. You're just pretending to be people that you're not. Whereas when you talk to someone who's truly doing the things that align with them, and you're doing the things that truly align with you, it's amazing, okay? You're going to have some amazing conversations and you're going to grow. So, is it time to start making decisions that align with you more? Probably. Start noticing those thoughts and don't give in to them anymore. Stick with how you actually feel. There's so many things you can do to help you out on this journey. But for example, write down a list of reasons why you're not doing something you know you should do or you know you want to do. Write it down, go through it, and when you're aware of those thoughts arising and those blockages of fear arising, it's now on you, and it's always been on you. I'm afraid to say it's always been on you. Okay, your life is on you, no one else. No one else is responsible for you or how you feel or where you get to. It's actually it's an amazing truth. It's very empowering when you embrace it. Be aware of those fears and those blockages, okay, and ignore them, okay? Start acting in a way that truly aligns with you so you can live the life you deserve for yourself and the people you love. That's all I've got to say today. You know what you got to do, hopefully. If not, leave a comment. I'll chat to you. Or hit me up on Instagram, go on my DMs. I'm more than happy to chat about life, the universe, and everything. All right. I will catch you in a bit. Take care.